Good day. Welcome at the Sage200Evolution webinar. What is new in version 10.1? Sage offers the best in business management solutions by continuously investing in research and development and incorporating its customer suggestions and recommendations in the Sage Evolution version 10.1 release. Your value feedback has been included in new enhanced features and add-on modules, which provide greater flexibility, efficiency, and control to your business. Here's a list of a few changes that happened in the new release. Registration changes, there's general ledger changes, customer and suppliers, there's a few changes on the inventory, order entry, job costing, multi-currency, tax processing, email signatures, and then there's also other changes in other add-on modules. The first thing what is a big change is when you do your registration. To automatically renew registration details, you have to enter your serial number on the registration page. Unlock into the database, the latest registration code details will be retrieved from the Sage system. So if I go to my registration, and you will see there you will enter your serial number. In the general ledger module, there's also a few changes. A user not linked to an admin group will now be able to successfully process a reversal general ledger journal batch without errors. Printing the balance sheet report will now display the correct account description up to any segment level selected. And then we have a new feature. We can export the GL transactions to Excel without using the report. Let's go through that. Under General Ledger Reports, there's your account transaction report. This is the normal report that you normally will print. If we click on Preview, for example, this is how the report will look like. The same report, you can export into Excel, especially if you have a large amount of transactions and your report is taking very long. It's very quicker to do it via the Excel export. Let's do the Excel export. Under General Ledger Transactions, you will find the transactional export. It looks nearly the same as the account transaction report. You will select from to, and then you can select the period that you want to print. I'm just going to work with May. You can also say if you only want to see the account or the description, or you want to see the account and description. If you're working with foreign currencies, you can also export the foreign amounts. And then you can tell the system where to save this report. And what's nice about this report, it will tell you it's a general ledger transaction export report, and it will also give you the date of this report. And then we click on export. Fully successfully exported. Do you want to open the Excel workbook? Let's say yes. And there's your account transactions report in an Excel format. It's nice and neat, and it's easy to read. If you look from the left-hand side, there's your account link, your account name, account description, transaction date, reference, description. Very important, there's your audit number, there's a balance column, your debits, credits, and of course your running balance. And as you can see, if we go all the way down, it was a very quick export. It was up to 177 lines. So now you can see if you have a lot of lines, this will be a quick and faster way to export it to Excel and to do some auditing on this sheet. Under the customers and suppliers, upon linking of customer accounts, transactions will now display on both the main account and the SIP account. The H analysis will now display the correct balance for customers that have an outstanding balance on their account when selecting the options all balances and show credits after report date. The H analysis report will now preview all transactions when the option H per service is selected. The Options tab with its fields will now display in full on the accounts payable allocations and account payable remittance advice screens. The tax box submission report has been corrected to display the transactions processed using reverse charges. A new feature that they also bring in is multiple link people. People that are linked to customers and suppliers can also receive documents generated by the system via emails. For example, you have additional people in the company and you want to send the credit notes to or the invoices or the statements. Let's go through this step. We open the customer accounts. Here's one for About IT. Under the People's tab, this is where you will create all the people in the company, and then you have to specify what the person needs to receive. Either the source documents, which is your invoices and your credit notes, or email, or both. So let's say we're going to send these documents to Jillian, and we're going to click on OK. Another feature, what you must remember, if you want to send to people, you have to activate it under your bank and other tab. There you will see in the left-hand side, statements, email, customer, and linked people. Under your multiple document printing, email, customer, and linked people. Let's go and test one of the invoices. I'm going to create quickly an invoice that you can see the email address. And we're going to process the invoice. Yes, we want to print. And we close. And now as soon as we close, the email is going to pop up and you will see now the default email address as well as the people's email address will populate automatically. What's also new, what you can pick up here, now in your subject line, you can also see your invoice number. Under the inventory module, there's a few changes and reporting especially. The totals on the inventory valuation report when run summarized will now match the totals when run with the detailed options. The inventory management report display the same inventory item per warehouse, even though the group by warehouse option is not selected, thus displaying multiple lines of the inventory item on the report. This has been corrected to now display single line entries for each inventory item, even when the group by warehouse options has not been selected. The lot tracking report now display lot transactions processed per document when the report is run for a date range and not as summary. The good receive voucher cleared the document totals in a scenario where lines have already been captured and the user selected additional cost as a total for the document. The good receive voucher will now include the additional cost of the inventory items in the document total. On bin transactions, the validation for bin and warehouse combinations has been corrected when line details are copied from the previous line. An error message was reported that bin locations is not valid for the item and the warehouse. The inventory code field will now be available on the lot inquiry screen. When emailing an invoice, the subject line will now include the invoice number. The bin location field displaying the field to include list by default when the inventory count import screen is loaded. But when the drop-down is clicked, the bin location field is removed from the list for selection. The bin location field will now always be present for selecting in the drop-down list. The search option will now return result in the inventory count screen. When processing inventory count using bin locations, all lines will now reflect as counted with the quantities as per the import file. The user will now be able to copy the item when the item groups link to the warehouses on the item. The average unit cost field will now be masked on the grid for all file types when the agent does not have permission to display the unit cost field. The warehouse transfer batch displays 0 values for fields, the warehouse cost, and from warehouse cost. When searching by barcode, the batch have been corrected to display the correct cost. These are most on the reporting side that they have made major changes. Under the order entry module, there's a few changes as well. User-defined fields that are created at a branch will now display on the sales order transaction screen in an offline branch database. General ledger lines on purchase order cause the purchase order report not to print any records when the date range were removed. This has been corrected to display the correct purchase or information. An error occurred while processing these transactions. The SPE05, SP07 cannot insert duplicate keys row in object. Error has been corrected when processing sales order and the user-defined field value was changed since the sales order was first saved. Loading a template as a sales order will use a template address and not revert to the address for the customer used on the sales order. Merging of purchase orders on an offline branch database have been corrected. Purchase order user-defined fields will now be available for selections on the overdue purchase order report. Job costing, they made some changes on the job costing as well. A nice feature they brought in, if you have a very large job card and you want to select all the lines at once to invoice, it was always difficult because you have to manually select it. Now you can select it at one tick. So let's look at that quickly. I'm going to create a job card. And make the status active, and I've got a project that I need to select. Just going to add a few lines so that we can test our new feature. Oh, sorry, I missed a few reference numbers. I'm going to say save and close. And if I open the job card again and I want to invoice this job card now, look at the invoice column here. We don't want to manually select. We're just going to right click and we're going to say select all to invoices. And you say yes, and there it select all the lines for your invoices. So this will help if you have a large job card and you don't want to do it line by line. Other changes, prompt options that are configured on the inventory group and a job card is processed. The prompt to enter the sales and the costs of sales account is not displaying. This has been corrected. Processing a job card, an incorrect foreign value was calculated when changing from option enter home amount to option enter foreign amount. This will now calculate correctly. Another feature that I brought in is work in progress variance notification. So this will, in large companies, they reconcile the work in progress report with a work in progress control account to see the variances. Now with this new feature, every time when you complete a job card, the message will pop up if there's a variance in your work in progress account. So to see that, under your job costing maintenance, go to defaults. And there you will see show work in progress message. So if there's any differences on your work in progress account, then it will pop up as soon as you click on complete on the job card. The message will say there is an outstanding work in progress amount. Do you wish to continue posting? Please select yes to continue posting or no to stop posting. Another feature that have been changed is your multi-currency tender in retail point of sale. You can now do tenders in multi-currency. Few things that you need to make sure of under your company common. You will see foreign currencies. Of course, there needs to be a foreign currency if you want to tender in foreign currency. Then we go to retail point of sale, defaults, and you will see now there's a new option at the bottom, currency. If you want to tender in currency, you will say allow multi-currency. You will specify your exchange rate, the buying rate or the selling rate. And then you will allow and select the currencies you want to do tender in. There you can specify your default float amount and also your cash up amount. As soon as you start with your retail point of sale, you can have the options going to pop up like this on my screen, USD dollar and the float. And then when you tender, you can put in the home currency as well as your foreign currency. You will also see when you do a cash up, you can do your float in home currency as well as foreign currency. The count cash, you can do home currency and foreign, as well as your cash pickups. You can do in home currency and USD dollars. Then the big and the very good news of Evolution is now we can close our tax periods. I think there's a lot of people that will be very happy with this, especially if you're coming from the Pastel partner environment. It's very easy to do it. I'm going to go walk it with you, through with you. So you will go to tax. First, before I activate that, I want to show you the reports. If you go to the tax box report, you will see at the top, we have the functionality now. You want to view the closed tax period only, or you want to view out of period transactions. That means if they do any transactions in the closed period, then that report will show you all those type of transactions. But this won't work if you don't activate it in your system. So to do that, we will go to tax, tax defaults, options. Under the options, there's the place where you will activate your closing period. On this screen, you have to tell the system, when do you want to start? Normally, it will be the first month of your financial period. That will normally be your first time that you will use it. So let's work with this. Let's say March 2019, and we're gonna do it every month. Click on OK. That was step one. So now we told the system when to start with the closing of tax periods, but we still need to activate it. Under tax transactions, you will find the note, close tax period. Close the tax period. Automatically, it will pick up the date you inserted under default. And click on OK. And yes. And there you are. Now you can print. Let's go back to our tax reports. If I say close tax period, by default, it will select the period that you've been blocked, and you can preview your transactions. If you don't want to see that, you will deselect, and then you can select as normal which period you want to view. If you post any transactions in this period after it's been blocked, you can view those transactions with the out of period transaction tick box. Other changes of the tax, transactions posted using the automatic payment and remittance batch will correctly display the amount refundable in the payment-based tax report. Tax box submission report corrected to calculate 15% tax for the box value not exceeding 28 days in the output tax section. The SAFT file submission fails due to discount on invoice line totals being submitted rather than discount on unit prices. The SAFT file submission will now calculate the discount on the unit price. The SAFT file will now include point of sale invoices. Another new feature that they brought in is the user can customize his own signature when invoicing documents out of Evolution. So let's look at this. I just need to log in as myself. To do your own signature, you need to, of course, to be logged in as yourself. Go to Utilities, Email Signature. Here you can see my information at the top. And here you can do your own signature. Let's just do this quickly. And you can make it nice to make it play around with the fonts, for example, and you can change the size, and you can even change the color. You can make it bold, you can make it italic. And there's my signature. The other thing what you must keep in mind, you can also put in a logo or an image. Depends on how you use your Outlook or your MAPI or your SMTP. If you go to your administration under your system configuration, system wizard, depends what you use here. Currently, I'm set up as MAPI. In other words, I cannot add an image or a logo to my signature. If you use SMTP, you can add your logo or a picture to your signature. MAPI do plain, if you put your signature in plain text with no image, and Microsoft Outlook, it's like an HTML format, and once again, there will be no image or picture with your signature. So let's just do a recap on that. Very important, if you only the SMT method will put in an image. MAPI sent a signature in plain text and no image, and Outlook sent signature in HTML format without image. There was also other changes. It's not easy to go through all of the changes, but they have made some changes in the advanced procurement module, branch accounting, alert management, immunity billing, bills of materials, the inventory issue, inventory optimization, the service manager, the voucher manager, and they also made some changes with the sync monitors. Thank you all for being here today and taking time to patiently listen what I had to say. If you require more information about the enhancements, please send us a mail at support@aboutitgroup.co.za or call us on 0861 460 100.